Just a few days ago, I saw the Five Nights at Freddy's 2 film in cinemas. And to give a completely spoiler-free, quick thoughts on what I thought of it, it was good. It wasn't like amazing or anything, but it was good. Was it better or worse than the first film? I don't know. I think it depends on what you're after. I think the film does some things better than the first film and some things a little worse, in my opinion anyway. So it kind of depends on what exactly you wanted to get out of the film. For a lot of people, they actually like the second film more than the first, but I think in my opinion, I actually like the first film more. But don't get me wrong, I still liked the film. If you're the type of person who just wanted the film just to be scarier, well, this film's at least got that for you. Like, it is a little creepier. There's one character in particular that's quite creepy in my opinion. So, they've at least listened to that criticism there. So I think I want to talk about my complaints more than the pros, because I think just for pros, just default, I liked most of it. It was pretty good, just pretty solid through and through for the majority of the film. As I said, I honestly think the majority of it, the meat of the film, mostly better than the first. But I did have a gripe with the second film's ending, purely because I like having an actual conclusion, whereas this film's ending just set up for the third film. It kind of just cut off abruptly without actually resolving its plot points. And I don't like that. However, when the third film comes out, it probably won't bother me as much because, I'll have the second half then. So it's not that big of a deal, honestly. But it is something that kind of made me come out of the theater with a little bit of disappointment because I kind of wanted to see it end and it just kind of cut off and didn't. Kind of want to go on a little bit of an extra tangent here. It's like something that's been bothering me about Five Nights at Freddy's for a while, even outside of the films. Because I remember one of the things I really liked about like Scott's games, like the original, like 1 through 7, is that every game kind of has a sense of a conclusion, because every game was kind of supposed to be the last, and it just kept going, because Scott wanted to make sure he had this perfect ending. But because of that, because every game was supposed to be the last, every game left off at a pretty good conclusion point. Every game felt like it resolved its main plot, and every game felt like that the answers were there, you just had to kind of look for them. Even if the answers were, like, not as clear as you wanted them to be. But in the modern games, Scott very clearly has intent to keep going. So, like, Help Wanted was literally just building up to Security Breach. Security Breach had so much weird, unresolved stuff that it was very clear that there was going to be DLC and the books were going to pick up from it, and more games. It was just clear it wasn't going to end there. Then Help Wanted 2 didn't really add much. And Seeker of the Mimic and Ruin, they all just build up to what comes next even more. Nothing has really given us a solid sense of conclusion in these recent games. It's all just been build up and building up to the next thing and building up to the next thing. And that's kind of bothered me because it doesn't have this sense of conclusion anymore the old games did. And now the films are doing that too. The second film just doesn't have a good sense of conclusion. It doesn't have any sense of conclusion, to be quite frank. It didn't resolve really anything. That was my issue number 1. I had a couple of nitpicks throughout the film, but I only had 2 major issues. And again, if my issue number 1 is just I didn't like cliffhangers, I mean that doesn't bother everyone, and it probably won't even bother me when the third film comes out. So what's issue number 2? Well, I would talk about the issue itself, but I kind of want to just take a small step back and just talk about the characters in general. Because my second issue involves the characters. But I feel like I'd be doing a disservice only talking about the negatives here, because there were some characters I really liked. So I'm going to start off with the human characters. Mike, yeah, he was alright. I mean, I'm actually going to be honest, I liked him less in this film than the last. There's a couple of moments where he kind of frustrated me. I especially didn't like how he treated Vanessa at the end, but I see why he did that, I see why they wanted to do that. But, I don't know, I didn't personally like it. Vanessa's great as always. I love Vanessa in the first film. I love Vanessa in the second as well. No issues with Vanessa. And Abby, no issues again. So the main 3 I think were pretty good. But we have more added in this film. Oh, so I guess William Afton... Okay, I guess William Afton's not a new addition. William Afton only really appeared in Vanessa's, nightmare sequences, which is fine, that's what I expected, because he's not... Springtrap can't appear until film 3, or at least the post-credits of film 2, because he did appear there. William Afton honestly played a smaller role than I would have liked him to. I was kind of hoping that he'd be, haunting Vanessa throughout the film, and then Vanessa would only, near the end, overcome the nightmares of her father. But instead she pretty much resolved them nearly instantly at the start. It felt less like a plot line they tried to do, and more like a, hey, we need to put William Afton here for fan service, let's force this in for a few scenes. This is how it came off to me. I wish there was more of that, just to make it feel more integrated into the story. But what was there was good. William Afton's shots were pretty cool. Oh yeah, of course, there's also the intro, which was an Vanessa flashback too. The intro was pretty cool too. In fact, the intro was a very memorable scene, to be honest. I liked the intro. I think everyone's been saying that the intro is one of the best scenes. Anyway, now on the actual new human character in this film. Oh, sorry. I keep remembering characters keep feeling exist. Jeremy's actually the next character I want to talk about. Jeremy played a very small role in the first film as Mike's friend, and I was really hoping he'd play a larger role in this film because, you know, Jeremy Fitzgerald is the main protagonist of the second game. And Jeremy does kind of play a bigger role here. Marginally. He has more than one single scene. He has a few little scenes. It's not much, he's still kind of a minor character, but I did enjoy the scenes he was in, and I liked seeing him in film too. I'm happy they didn't remove him entirely. It would have felt really wrong if he was gone entirely. But he helps Mike at the start, and he punches the other Mike near the end, which is kind of funny. Yeah, I enjoyed Jeremy. So finally I can now move on to the new characters the film to introduces. Let's start off with the new Mike. Michael Afton. Completely pointless. He served zero purpose in this film. However, considering where he was left off at the end of the film and he kind of just runs away, I guess, I'd say they're planning him for film 3 and this is just a minor setup for him. So I guess I can't really give a solid opinion on the character until film 3. This is why I don't like having unresolved stories, because it feels like I only have half the picture, to the point where it feels wrong to talk about the characters. It's like judging the characters based off a trailer. It just feels wrong. I don't have enough information yet. But from what I do have, Michael Afton so far felt really pointless. However, his actor killed it. Like, it's really good. I really liked Michael Afton's character, his vibe. I know a lot of people didn't like it because Michael Afton's supposed to be good in the games. But, I mean, he turns good after the events of Sister Location, but he was following his father around before Sister Location in the game, so it's not that different to the games. It's just before Sister Location. But I do think he'll probably just keep his evil persona, because I think they're going for the two purple guys theory, and integrating that into the story, and I kind of love that. I kind of love that it's a reference to two purple guys. I don't hate it. I like it. But I see why other people don't like it, because they want more game-faithful characters. As for the other character introduced in this film, Henry. Nothing character. He kind of showed up, gave Mike a music box, which helped them defeat the puppet in the climax, and that's kind of it. Henry was kind of brushed past very quickly, and didn't feel very important. He was just kind of Charlie's father. He just kind of exists. And I feel like for such an important character in the games, I would have wanted him to do a little more. I was hoping he'd like join the main cast and appear near the end and help out, but he kind of didn't. He kind of showed up in one scene to give an item to Mike. And I mean, he does help Mike, but like, I don't know, it wasn't enough for me. I wanted to see more Henry. I feel like he was a little underutilized. But the real thing that made me dislike Henry's role in this is the post-credits. A lot of people missed the post-credits. I am talking about the post-credits, not the mid-credits. The mid-credits scene is the one with like Fazbear's Fright. The post-credits is like Henry's speech. A lot of people missed it because a lot of people thought that that was just it once they saw Fazbear's Fright. No. There is an actual post-credits as well. And in that post-credits, Henry law drops that he and William were business partners, and says that he's been tracking animatronics, and he leaves us a message as a warning for Mike. And then Henry gets killed by the puppet. So I guess Henry wasn't introduced for film 3, because I thought that Henry being introduced in film 2 was to give him a better build-up for his role in film 3. Because the one big problem with Henry's inclusion in the games is it kind of just felt like out of nowhere. So I thought introducing him early in film 2, even if it wasn't super relevant yet, was build up for the next film. But it isn't, because he kind of dies in the post-credits. So I guess he's just gone now. Or maybe it's a fake out. Maybe he's not actually dead, but it certainly seems like he is. So that's a little disappointing. I was really hoping to do more with Henry, but I guess that's all we've got. So now that I'm done with the human characters, the animatronics, I mean, this is Five Nights at Freddy's, the animatronics, the stars. Obviously, we have to start with the main one. The puppet. Charlie. The puppet was awesome. Now, people who are big fans of Charlie's game character and wanted to see her game character portrayed are probably going to hate film Charlie. Because she's very different to her games and novels counterpart. I mean, I guess in the novels counterpart, she just dies as a toddler and technically does nothing, but she's very different to her games counterpart. She's a very different take on the character. In my opinion, the new take was really, really cool. I really enjoyed it, and I thought it was the highlight of the film, and some of the scenes with the puppet were just so good. I loved the puppet in the film. I don't mind that it's different. I'm just happy that it was cool. I really liked the take they had. But I do see why other people might hate it. But for me, she was the highlight. In fact, my favourite scene in the entire film is the part, you know, this is obviously going to be again, you should have been watching this video after you've seen the film, but this is like the spoiler of all spoilers. But my favourite scene in the entire film was definitely like the climax when Charlie possesses Abby. That was great. I liked that scene. That was really cool. And you couldn't do something like that if they had a game-accurate puppet. So I personally really enjoy it. They had a fresh take on the character and had it actually land. But if we're talking about the puppet, the film actually introduces like sub-puppets, what I've been calling Minionettes. These silly little guys that have one banger kill at the start and then never show up again. I love them. They're silly little guys. I have a friend who hates them, apparently. And I'm going to feed them Freddy Fazbear's Pizza with Five Nights Blinding Stew as sauce. Thank you, people who answered my YouTube poll. I decided to do both. The man deserved Five Night Blinding Stew. The Minionettes were absolutely banger inclusions, and I will take no slander to them. I am integrating them into my AU, and no one can stop me. But the actual characters, I guess... I mean, if we're already starting with the marionette, I should probably go on to the next oddball then. Balloon Boy. Certified banger. Loved how Balloon Boy was portrayed. He was perfect. He messed with the systems. It was annoying. Had a cool scene in the water. And, the best part, Mike fucked his shit up. Banger scene. Perfect scene. Couldn't have asked for a more deserving fate for this child. So, now the rest of the actual normal toy animatronics. Now, in this film, Toy Chica isn't really just a normal toy animatronic. Toy Chica is main cast. She's actually quite important, quite notable, and she was awesome. I love that they kind of picked a random one to be the main one. Because I don't think anyone really thinks of Toy Chica. Like, when I think of, like, memorable characters, I don't think Toy Chica comes to mind, so I think her being like a spotlight character was really cool, and I was really loved seeing so much spotlight put on Toy Chica. Just in general, Chica variations seem to be underappreciated by the fanbase, so honestly, I respect it. And it also ties in really well considering that Abby was friends with Chica in the first film. I think it worked really well. I'm really happy with how they executed her. I like the idea of making her so important. I like how they executed her. She had a pretty cool kill. And in general, just other sections like the puppet being inside Toy Chica at the end was really cool. And the one scene which had a beak off, just for shits and giggles, banger. Toy Chica was excellent. And her voice acting, a lot of people were nervous about Megan Fox's voice acting. It was great. Toy Chica was perfectly represented. Honestly, she was beyond perfectly represented. She exceeded expectations. Toy Chica was awesome. As for Mangle, Mangle was also pretty cool. Mangle only got a few cool scenes, but they were both really good ones in my opinion. She got a cool kill at the start. She was like on Vanessa's car, which was awesome. I appreciated Mangle. Mangle is what I expected every character in this film to be like. A quick kill, maybe another extra scene. That's all I really wanted and expected from them. There are a lot of characters in Five Nights at Freddy's too, so I understand why not all of them could be important. So I kind of expected all of them to be like Mangle. So, perfectly represented in my opinion. I think Mangle was great. As for Toy Freddy and Toy Bonnie, yeah, they existed. No, they were cool. They had a few scenes. They appeared a few times, but I do wish they got a kill. But I mean, they were still cool, and I liked their voices. At least Toy Bonnie's. Toy Freddy's felt a little bit out of place. I'm not gonna lie. I think Toy Freddy was my least favorite of the toys. But other than that, it's a very minor nitpick, so I think they're alright. Now for the Witheds. Remember that point where I was like, yeah, I have some negative opinions about characters in this film? The Witheds are who I was thinking of, because the Witheds in this film were treated like they were cameo characters, who only really appeared for one fan service scene, but they're supposed to be main cast, at least they were main cast in the original game, so it just doesn't feel right to treat them like cameos, because that's really just how they felt. They just, as I said, they just appeared for one fan service scene. They technically showed up, but they didn't get any kills, and they didn't really feel relevant at all. They just existed for a second. And that's not even something you can say for all of them. Withered Golden Freddy straight up doesn't even exist. So any Withered Golden Freddy fans out there who exist, I have bad news for y'all. The only main Five Nights at Freddy's 2 animatronic being completely omitted. Now, to be fair, it's probably because Golden Freddy from the first film was kind of like a fusion of the original Golden Freddy and Five Nights at Freddy's 2 Golden Freddy. Because it had like the original Golden Freddy design, but then it had the Five Nights at Freddy's 2 withering. So it's kind of like the one from the first film was like this fusion of both. So I get why they didn't do Withered Golden Freddy, because they kind of already did it by fusing it with the original Golden Freddy in film 1. I get it, but not appearing, I don't know, I would have preferred if it still appeared. It just doesn't feel right to me. I don't know, maybe I'm just picky. And I wish the Witheds at least like got a kill and were a little more relevant. I was hoping that once the Witheds were activated, that they would become persistent threats for the rest of the film and become like main cast, but no, just a one scene fan service thing. And even then, that fan service scene wasn't even that great. There was a little bit of wonky pacing stuff going on there in my opinion, and some other wonky stuff like Mike instinctively using the mask I think felt weird, and the fact that Mike had time to realize the mask didn't work and fiddle around with the computer systems all the time it took for Foxy to do a swing felt really weird pacing wise. But if we're complaining about the Witheds, there's one Withed in particular I really gotta complain about. Withered Bonnie knocks over a vent cover, and then Mike puts the vent cover back, and then he's just gone. Withered Chica and Withered Freddy and Withered Foxy, they were at least fended off properly. Withered Bonnie wasn't even fended off properly. They just put the cover back. The cover that he could already demonstrate he could knock her down. He just put it back on and he's just fine now, I guess. Withered Bonnie fans, y'all lucky Withered Bonnie was so cool in the games, because Withered Bonnie fans should be mourning this film. That was just incredibly sad. So secret characters, right. The secret characters from Five Nights at Freddy's 2 didn't exist. Like, Shadow Freddy wasn't there, JJ wasn't there, and I'm pretty sure there wasn't even Endo 2, which surprised me. Now, RXQ was there. RWQ FSFA6C did appear in one blink and you miss it moment. Perfect for the character, perfectly executed, couldn't ask for a better reference. I am very happy with how RWQ FSFA6C was handled. But the others just straight up didn't appear. Now to be fair, if Golden Freddy doesn't appear, or where Withered Golden Freddy doesn't appear, then I see why Shadow Freddy didn't. Because Shadow Freddy's the recolor of Withered Golden Freddy, so it kind of doesn't make sense to have Shadow Freddy and not Withered Golden Freddy. So I get that. Why was JJ not here though? Could they really... I mean, maybe I missed it, but I don't really think there's an issue with JJ. I feel like she could have been there. I don't know, maybe just a small nitpick. One of the big reasons why I watch these films is to see these game characters do cool stuff. So when game characters only show up for a split second and not really do anything, or for one scene and not really do anything, or in other characters to just not appear at all, kinda is something I didn't really like, and was probably the big thing I didn't like about this film and why I like film 1 more. It felt like every character in film 1 was done justice. There are a few characters in this film which I just don't feel like were done justice. Like, as I said, the Withereds weren't really done justice. A lot of the Easter egg characters didn't appear. And even, as I said, even outside of the animatronics, Henry Emily wasn't really done justice either, in my opinion. That was probably my biggest complaint about this film. And just in general, like, I would have preferred to have seen them all get a kill, but I mean, maybe that would have been too ambitious. Just, come on. One scene for the Withereds, that's just sad. So I believe that's all the animatronics, though, right? No, there's one more. The one that everyone I'm sure is talking about. It's made everyone lose their minds. So Circus Baby is a thing. I don't know if I like the implications, because Ella appeared in film 1, and Circus Baby appeared in film 2. This is 2 Charlie Bots in the films. And then if you didn't know about this, by the way, the films take inspiration from the game they're based off, plus 3 games later, plus the novel. So for example, film 1 was based off Game 1, Game 4, and the Silver Eyes novel. Film 2 was based off Game 2, and with Circus Baby, it's got elements from Sister Location, Game 5, and it was very based off the Twisted Ones novel. That there was a lot of stuff that's very Twisted Ones here. So then we're going to have the 3rd film, which will obviously be based off the 3rd game, and we've already gotten like Henry's speech in the post-credits, so it's definitely pulling from Pizza Sim, Sick Game 6. So I'm very confident that they're going to pull from the 4th closet as well. Now, having Ella and Circus Baby, 2 Charlie Bots already in the films, right before a film which is going to adapt the novel that focuses around Charlie Bots. I guess I have time to mentally prepare. That's all I can really say. I don't know how I feel about Charlie Bots being in the films, but hey, I guess I'll have to wait to see how it's handled, right? It's too early to judge it now, but there are definitely implications of Circus Baby appearing. So overall, yeah, some characters were done well, but there was a few that weren't really done justice, and I would have preferred more of them got kills. Because the only one characters who got kills were the Minionettes, Mangle killed someone, and the puppet got a kill. Oh, and Toy Chica. Toy Chica gets killed, so yeah. Toy Chica, Mangle, the Minionettes, and the Marionette. They all got kills, but everyone else kind of didn't, and I was kind of hoping for more of them to have kills. But I mean, even outside of that, I just wish the Wizards got more screen time. I don't know if I care about JJ that much to be that bothered by JJ not appearing. And of course, yeah, I wanted Henry to do more. So that was my big gripe with this film. Outside of, cliffhanger endings that I don't like. Outside of that, though, the film, what was there in the film, like, most of that's not the characters are handled poorly, just not enough was done with them. So, in terms of what was done with them, and majority of the film, it was really good. I enjoyed it still. But I do hope the 3rd film actually gives a proper resolution. I mean, sure it will. I hope it's better, because I don't feel like the 2nd film was significantly better than the 1st. In fact, as I said, I still prefer the 1st. So I want to see a bit of a more of a step up in film 3. While I'm here, Easter eggs. No secret characters outside of RXQ, of course. There was no extra ones like Sparky appearing in the 1st film. There was nothing like that in film 2, which makes sense. There was enough animatronics as is. Oh my god, I spoke about the animatronics. Did I completely forget about the classic cast appearing in this film? Yeah, well, their scene could have been done better. It's basically a reference to the Twisted Ones, but I think the Twisted Ones did it better, personally. It felt a little bit awkward in this film. Could have been better, it was still cool. And I think that actually sums up most of my thoughts in the film. It was cool, and a lot of it was better than the 1st, but it still could have been better. But I still enjoyed it, don't get me wrong. I am done. I've yapped on for half an hour. And yes, oh yeah, no, there's one Easter egg I want to call out just before I go though. The very last thing I'll call out. Just as like a fun extra. There's the Candies and Pop Goes arcade machines in Freddy's. That's awesome. I loved that. Alright. Yeah, I'm gonna go. I'll see you next time.